Well, good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock and it's Friday, so it is time for Flashcard Friday. And tonight we're going to take on a little bit of a touchy subject, but don't let the title fool you, because it's actually not what it's not what you're thinking about. The title for tonight is "Pay Attention or Keep Watch." And I have to tell you, in the last month, I would say, well, actually, it's been a little bit longer than that, but easily in the last month, my emails, my text messages, um, Facebook messages, basically, I've had different people contacting me with regards to the end of the world or the end of days, the end of times, um, you know, that type of stuff, and in different variations. And I got to admit there's part of me that's struggling because I think people are missing the point. And so I've had all of these things that I've been teaching on, controlling our emotions. I've had to put all of them into practice in a lot of these. And I mean, I've heard some like completely insane things, from God splitting the earth in half with a lightning bolt, to different prophecies in the Old Testament coming to fruition now. Um, and I'm not going to cover all of those. Jesus has his own prophecy, and it's found in Matthew 24. But I have to tell you, I guess it was maybe a week. It was a little while ago. I had a friend come in, and we were actually had the opportunity to talk face to face, which doesn't happen very often in this particular type of thing. But they came in and they wanted to talk about how people are starting to say that right now, Isaiah 17 is being fulfilled in the Middle East. And this is one that I happen to be a little bit familiar with. So I'm like, well, okay. And I let them do the actual study, which is what I keep saying to you guys. Don't take my word for it. Even with what we're going to talk about today, don't take my word for it. Study it yourself. It's easier. It's really easier than you think. In the span of 20 minutes, this person actually got to see what a multitude of people actually think about the Isaiah 17 passage. And in that one, it talks about the destruction of Damascus. Then it's immediately followed by problems within Israel. Now anybody who knows anything about history, Israel and Syria have been fighting with each other, using larger weapons since 1948. But that battle, within that region has been going on since before Jesus. And actually, if so when this person got to look it up, within 20 minutes, they found 25 different theologians from different theological backgrounds, different time frames. Some have long since passed away, some are still living. They got to look at 25 different ones. 24 out of the 25 said that the Isaiah 17 prophecy was fulfilled in 722, was completely fulfilled by 722 BC. Okay, so 700 years before Jesus was even born, that prophecy was fulfilled. The one who didn't say it said it was likely that it had been fulfilled, but they wouldn't stand firm on it. The other 24 were willing to stand firm. But in order for us to actually, do that, we have to start doing our own study. Hey Becky, hey Carol. Actually, I have a way to actually see a little bit now. So I'm so glad that you guys could join us for this. But in Matthew 24, Jesus gives a prophecy, and it's vague. And I think it's vague on purpose. But he kind of talks about four specific things. In the very beginning, he talks about the beginning of birth pains. Okay, so he talks about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. Now, yes, the temple was completely destroyed and has never been rebuilt, and it was completely destroyed in 70 AD. So, 37 years after the death and resurrection of Christ, that little piece came to fruition. But that's the only time that he's specific in it. And we don't have time to read this entire thing. But again, I'm telling you, study these passages here. It is literally as simple as whatever your search engine, whatever your preferred search engine is, go in and type Matthew 24 commentary, and read a bunch of different ones. You can tell by the wording, how old they are. Like if you see Matthew Henry, he was from the 1500s. So, it's really fascinating to look at all of these. But Jesus is really vague when he talks about the beginnings of birth pains. He says, many will come in my name, claiming that they're the Messiah, and they will deceive many. You will hear about wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that no one is alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All of these are the beginnings of birth pains. Okay, so he listed out a bunch of things. Okay, many will come in my name, claiming that they're me, and they will deceive many. That's been going on since actually before Jesus, and it's still going on today. Does that mean that it's gonna be like multitudes of people? Again, he's very vague. Wars and rumors of wars. Pretty much, you can go all the way back to Abraham, and there's at least two countries battling with each other or warring with each other. Is he talking about a world war? Is he talking about World War III? If you look at our current state within the world, does it look like we're in that realm? I don't know, but I don't think so, because when you read further, again, we don't know. Some people will say, they'll go back to the whole Isaiah 17 thing, and they'll talk about Israel and Damascus. Okay, but again, these guys have been fighting since 1948. So, what does that mean? Again, it's vague. When it says nation against nation, actually the word used there for nation is ethos, which is basically your ethnicity. It's the color of your skin. This is not, like the United States against Russia. It's not two nations like that. Nations in the day of Jesus was determined by the color of your skin, because usually people with certain colors would only hang out, and it was actually more that like we see today. We see white versus black. In this day and age, it was literally the shade of white. The whiter your skin, the further north you were from. It's not that they hated each other, but there were times that one group would think that they were better than the other. But anytime you see the word nation in there, it's usually the word ethos, which again refers to the color of your skin, not actually, excuse me, not actually one large country versus another. And again, it's very vague. How broad is this? Is it just white versus black, or is this literally every color is going to fight against every color? Then we have kingdom against kingdom. And again, the word kingdom is misunderstood here, because it's not actually referring to a place, it's referring to the leader. Okay, so this is, kings going against kings, presidents and dictators, and it's all of them, going against each other. Is that, again, if you stop and think about it, that's been happening since the day of Jesus, and it continues today, so Does it mean that all of them have to be arguing, or what? We just don't know. Famine and earthquakes, the famine, earthquakes, and plagues. Again, you know, those have been going on forever. Is this a worldwide one or not? We don't know. Jesus is vague. Then he goes into different forms of Christianity being on trial. There's Christian persecution. You will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. You will be hated by all nations. Many will leave the faith. Okay, but again, he's not giving us numbers. So how do you judge that? In the last 10 years, in the United States, 10 million people have left the church. Is that what they're talking about? Or is this literally going to be only a handful are going to stay? He's vague. And again, I think he's vague on purpose. After that, he talks about the Antichrist. Now, we've talked about this before. If you look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, that one also says that the Antichrist will be known. Like you will actually know that person by name, and you will know that they are the Antichrist. And he says something very similar in verse 15. He says, "So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand." Okay, and if you look in Daniel chapters 9, 11, and 12, he will talk about it. But again, that along with 2 Thessalonians, he's named and he's known. He or she is named and known. But then Jesus says in verse 36, "But about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father." God is the only one that knows. So now we're actually going to get to the whole point of why I'm talking about this. Because throughout here, Jesus will use the words pay attention, keep watch, look for, and different things. When you see, he says, watch out that no one deceives you. Stop and think about that. How do you ensure that nobody deceives you? You have to educate yourself. You have to study. So if anyone tells you, there he is, they're referring to the false Jesus and the false prophets. So if anyone tells you, there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out. Well, how are you going to know that? And to me, it's all about one thing. And I only wrote the words pay attention here. And it's pay attention. Pay attention to Jesus. Stop looking for signs. Stop looking for opportunities. When in this Matthew scripture, he says repeatedly to not believe all of these people who are gonna come to you, and they're gonna say all of these things. The easiest way to not believe them is to keep your focus on Jesus. Study his word. Study this book. Don't study signs and wonders and all of that, because even at that, in the very end, when it actually happens, he talks about, let me see if I can find it really quick. So you must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. And then it goes on later in here to talk about angels blowing trumpets. I've heard it talked about a multitude of times, that trumpet blowing is going to be like that. It's literally the trumpet is going to blow, and then it's all gonna be over. But again, Jesus is firm when he says, "The one who stands firm to the end will be saved." How do you stand firm? You keep your eyes on the one who loves you more than anything. Let all of these people have their thoughts and their theories and all of that. Don't fall for it. Don't listen to it. Keep your eyes on Jesus. This is what matters. All of his stuff, the birth pains, the trials, all that doesn't matter. You keep your focus on Jesus. Let him control the path of your life. Let him control your destiny. If somebody looks at you and says, Jesus, God is going to use a lightning bolt to split the earth in half tomorrow, just look at him and say Matthew 24 and walk away. That's all you got to do. You keep your focus on Jesus, and he says it right in here. You're the one that's going to be saved. And in the end, that's what matters. So, I apologize. This is something that's just been kind of grating on my nerves a little bit, and this is my one way to just say, stop listening to him. Stop paying attention. You're going to hear celebrities and impressive people talk about things like this, and they're going to sound very educated. He's telling you not to listen to him. Keep your eyes on him. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Again, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, send me an email, send me a text message, whatever. I would love to hear what you guys want to talk about. I've had a blast hanging out with you tonight, and I look forward to seeing y'all on Sunday. Talk to you later.